Abercrombie denim is everything right now. Denim should feel like this. Confident, easy, like your butt has never looked better. If you didn't know, Abercrombie's Curve Love denim went viral in 2019 for eliminating waist gap, and it's still a game changer. Between that and their classic fits with a straighter line from waist to hip, the perfect denim does exist. Shop Abercrombie denim in the app, online, and in store.
The kid you hear playing the piano, he's not mine. On top of the 2 weekly piano lessons and finger yoga, I give my son Smarty Pants vitamins to support his brain health because while I'm supposed to say it's not a competition, of course it's a f***ing competition. Choose Smarty Pants vitamins to support your kid's brain health and help them master whatever their chopsticks may be. Shop on Amazon, smartypantsvitamins.com, or at Target today.
You are listening to Women's Running Stories, where exceptional women runners share inspirational stories about their running experiences. Hello, my name is Cherie Louise Turner. I'm the host and producer of this podcast. How are you? I hope you're well. Thank you for being here. Now, in addition to being a podcast producer and host, I am a runner. And I love to race. I'm a masters racer. I am 55, almost 56. And this is an update about my own training and racing. I do these updates every so often. And the last time I gave an update about my own running journey was back in mid-May. So this catches you up from mid-May. Now it is the end of August. And so this is sort of my summer recap. And so let's get you up to speed where I left you off last time. Last time, I had just finished 8 weeks of a new training program. And that was a program that I had found in the book Breakthrough Women's Running. It's written by Cindy Kuzma and Neely Spence Gracie. I was following the 5K, 10K program with a focus on preparing for a 5K. It was a long build, this training program. It lasted for 12 weeks. And actually, in the end, I stretched it out to 15 weeks. So this was a really long, slow build, getting me to a 5K. And when I left you off last time, I didn't have a 5K on the schedule. And I finally did put a 5K on the schedule. And that took place at the end of June. I raced the Cambridge Summer Classic. These are events that happen in Cambridge every season. So there's spring, summer, winter, and fall. It's very close to my house. They're very well organized, and the course is very flat. So I was excited about racing this race. And so, yeah, let's just start with that. So between the time where I left you off up through getting to this race at the end of June, my training was going fine. I was really enjoying not overdoing it. I had been making a big point to not do 110% in all my workouts. I was focused on these B+ workouts like I talked about in the last episode. And the whole idea there is just that you do your workouts really well. Maybe you give 85, 90%, but you're not giving 100, 110%. And this is to, sort of save your emotional energy, save your physical energy for times when giving 100% or going all in on a workout is really necessary. And of course, there were a few workouts that I had where I really, really gave it my all, just not every single time. Now, the other thing that happened during this period of time is that summer came on, and it has been a hot, humid summer. And I really focused on having a good attitude about the weather. But just the reality is my body doesn't like it much. And I still managed to get in some really good workouts in some very hot weather. And I did keep a good attitude. I really focused on just doing my very best in the moment. And I was coming in with some pretty good times. So I was really pleased with my training, despite the fact that it really just started getting exhausting. I mean, we were having many 90+ degree days, and it takes a toll. So I was pleased with how everything was going. I was excited to do this race at the end of June. And so when the time came, I felt ready. I was excited. I wasn't quite sure what to expect. I was hoping to run around a 7-minute pace, and that was sort of what I set out to do. That is not how the day turned out, and I will admit to being a bit disappointed, but it was also in the 80s, and it was over 65% humidity, and the heat got to me. I ran a very smart race. Once I got into it and I realized the pace that my body was going to be able to run, I just settled in. I gave the very best effort I could. I paced well. I kept a very good attitude with a little attitude adjustment sort of in the middle because I was disappointed. I wanted to run faster and I was kind of bummed that I was going to be turning in, it ended up at the end being 7:18 pace. I ran a 22:40, which, look, is totally fine. And I had a lot of fun. I gave the very best effort I could on the day, especially with it being hot and humid. I was pleased. I was fine. But I did want to run faster. And looking back, I will say I had not raced since the end of January, so I was a bit rusty in that realm. And also with the heat and humidity, look, it was a very solid effort. And I did focus on just having a great time. There was a great atmosphere there. There were so many people cheering. There were so many people running. And I really had fun. So I did walk away. I had a lot of fun. And I also wanted to run faster. So that is just the reality of all of that. And I did have some more races on the calendar. So there was a race 2 weeks later and then another race 2 weeks after that. The race 2 weeks later was the USATF New England 1-mile road championships. I was really excited about this event because I love racing the mile and I don't get to race the mile on the road very often. So I was really looking forward to this. And one of the things that was particularly notable about this event was that the women went last on the schedule. And this ended up being even more special than I had realized it would be coming in. Typically, the last races are the marquee races. And with most racing lineups, that is typically reserved for the men's race. Not so on this day. The very last race of the day was the women's open race, and right before that was us Masters women. And one of the things that happened because we were one of the last races is that most everybody else there had already finished their race. And so they were just hanging out, cheering for whoever was racing next. So we had really, really great crowds, and it was just really nice to be one of the last races on the schedule. It made it feel special. And, I have been racing in some form or another my entire adult life. I cannot remember when a women's race was the marquee event of the day. And it both made me excited and honestly a bit sad because it just really sort of drove home the fact that women are often treated like they're always just one step below the guys. And we all sort of end up taking it for granted, or I'll speak for myself, I often just don't even think about it. And this made me think about it. And I was really, really thankful for this shift in the schedule. And I was particularly thankful to Amanda Waters. She does a lot of work with USATF New England. She has been the women's long distance running chair, and now she is the Masters long distance running chair. And when I see changes like this happening, I know I probably have Amanda to thank, as well as the rest of the people who do work at USATF New England. I know that there's a lot of work to go into it, so it's a group effort, but I know that Amanda has spearheaded some changes that I really like over the years, so thank you to Amanda for that. And in that race, which we did have great crowds, and we raced at 11, so it was quite warm when we lined up. And even though, it's only a mile race, so it doesn't last that long, but still, it was quite warm. And this was an out and back course, and it was a slight downhill going out, which means that when you turn around and come back, you have an uphill to the finish. And so the mandate of the day, of course, was pace accordingly. And I was really excited. Like I said, I was really excited for this race. I had gotten in a race a few weeks before, so I was feeling a little more ready for this. As it turns out, I was still a little bit rusty. It took me a minute to really settle into this race. And coming into the finish, I was sort of like, oh my gosh, it's already over. So I think a little more racing before that probably would have helped me out. And I did get really excited going, like in the first half, I ran too fast and I was a little bit kicking myself because there's a phenomenal racer that was in the field, Mary Cass, shout out to Mary. She's over 60 and she just absolutely flies. And I knew that she was coming back after an injury and that she was running a time that I maybe could have kept up with her. And I actually ended up passing her in the first half. And then what happened is we turned around and came back up the hill, and guess who came flying by me? Was none other than Mary Cass, of course, and she finished well ahead of me. And I just was kicking myself because I thought, had I not passed her and tried to hang with her, I probably could have eked out a better time. But nonetheless, I had a ton of fun. I raced really hard. I managed to run a 6:27, which, was pretty far off my PR. I ran a 6:17 last October on the track. So not really close to my PR, but, nonetheless, I ran really hard. I really had fun. And I could have paced a little bit better. I didn't. Lesson learned. And it was just an absolutely great experience. And I had something to look forward to because 2 weeks later, there was a track race. So I was really looking forward to that because I did have some racing in my legs. I was a little more on top of things coming in to this 1,500 meter that I was racing 2 weeks after the road mile. And this was my first 1,500 ever. And even though the 1,500 and the mile are not that much different in distance, but wow, it really does feel different. The 1,500 just feels a lot shorter. And so, yeah, that was really fun. And one of the wonderful things about this 1,500 was we had several women who were all kind of close to each other in time, like within about 10 or 15 seconds. And to have a regional women's masters race with several women who are around the same time is really nice because we can actually race each other. And I was really thankful that before we lined up, one of the other racers, Nicole, came up to me and said, hey, we finished near each other in the 1 mile road race a few weeks ago. So we're going to be racing together. Like we kind of are around the same time. And I was just so thankful she said that because as soon as the gun went off, she was a little bit ahead of me. I pulled in right behind her and I keyed off of her during the race. And when things got really, really hard, I just thought, we hung together 2 weeks ago. I can hang with her. And that was really, really helpful because she is a little bit faster than me. And she did end up coming in ahead of me, but it did give me that extra confidence that, oh, this is somebody I can hang with. And so I did dig a bit deeper than I may have just running on my own or not knowing that she was somebody that I could be really competitive with. So that was really satisfying. And we had, like I said, a great group of women. Mary Cass was back and running phenomenally. And I actually was able to keep her in my sights at least. And yeah, so we had a great group. It was a ton of fun. I feel like I ran well. I broke 6 minutes for the 1,500. I ran a 5:57. And extrapolating that out to a 1 mile, it was a 6 minute, 23 second pace. So slightly faster than I had run the mile a few weeks previous. So that was really satisfying. I feel like I raced well. And in that race, I made a point of staying with other runners in the race, even though when we came through on the first lap, like it was faster than I had intended to go. But I just didn't bother thinking about that because I thought, well, I'm racing the people in the race. I'm not racing the clock right now. And I just wanted to give my all to be in it. And it was a lot of fun. I love to race. Going after times is one thing that can be exciting, but actually going head to head with people or keying off of people or using some sort of race strategy is so much fun to me. And so I just love those opportunities when there is a group of women who can actually race each other. So yeah, that was a ton of fun. And after that 1,500 meter race, I was a little bit lost at sea because I didn't have anything else on the calendar that I was particularly excited about or that I had any sort of performance goals in mind for. And the only thing I could think of was, wow, I really am excited to race indoor because I really like racing sort of this mile distance, 1,500 meter. I want to get back to the 800, which I haven't run in a while. And the other racing that is coming up pretty soon here is cross-country racing. And look, I love cross-country racing. I think it is totally fun. I think it's a great workout and it's really, really hard. But I am not a good cross-country racer. And I have just come to terms with that, or I've made peace with that I am not a good cross-country racer. That is just a simple fact. And so I do not look at cross-country racing as something that I'm going to be particularly performance-minded about. So on one hand, there's no pressure, but also I like going after performance goals. So having those races on the calendar, like it's fun, they're great workouts, they're really, really tough efforts, and they're just a blast. But in terms of like, oh, where I really, really want to excel or really want to go after some goals, like that's not it. And so there I was, a little lost at sea about what to do between now and the indoor season, and starting to think that I could probably benefit again from having a coach. So I'd been thinking about this a little bit over the past few weeks now, and during this time of mulling over this idea of getting a coach, I was IMing with Molly Huddle. And Molly and I know each other through the podcasting world. She has the podcast Keeping Track with Alicia Montano and Roisin McGettigan. And we have worked together in the podcasting realm off and on now for a while. And so we were chatting back and forth, having something to do with podcasts. And she happened to mention, oh, hey, great job in your recent races. You have been racing with one of my athletes, Nicole. And I wrote back, oh, I did not realize that you were coaching people. And indeed, Molly is coaching. And she said, oh yeah, well, I have a few spots on my roster if you know anyone who is looking for a coach. And I thought, that's me. And so to quickly wrap up this part of the story, I am now working with Molly Huddle as my coach. I'm thrilled. Like I said, I've worked with Molly through the podcasting world, and she's fantastic, not to mention the fact that she is just an absolutely phenomenal racer. So I had known her, of course, as a podcast host and also as, one of the best racers in the world and Olympian and American record holder and all the rest of it, but I hadn't known her as a coach. And so I'm really excited to get to work with such a phenomenal racer, such a great person. And yeah, so I'm super excited. We literally just started working together this week. And I am excited about this because I've enjoyed coaching myself, but I think I could use a little more, a little more fine tuning. I've liked this realm of doing less and doing a really slow build, but I do feel like I am at a place where I need some harder workouts and I just need a little bit more. And I don't trust myself for giving myself more because I feel like I will give myself too much. So I get to hand that off to Molly and we are going to work together. And one thing I'm very committed to in working with her is that I will be very clear about if I feel like I'm getting overcooked. And that was the commitment I made to myself before I made a commitment to her to work with her as a coach, is that I would be really clear about how I was feeling and not fall back into my old habit of just doing what's on the calendar and digging myself into a hole. So I'm really, really excited about working with Molly, and we're putting some races on the calendar to make sure that I am ready to go full bore when the indoor season comes. And so I don't have any goal races right now on the calendar. My goal at the moment is to get faster and to have some fun doing some other types of racing that are low pressure, but that will keep me, sort of race ready and sharp. So when I start lining up for races in the indoor season, I will be ready to go. So that's kind of everything on the training and racing side of things. Now, a couple other items from the last episode that I do want to touch on. One is I had talked about the fact that I had gotten a high cholesterol reading and that I was going to go back for some more testing after changing my diet. And I have not done that yet. I am due to get a new blood test pretty soon here, but that has not happened. So my update is I have no update on that front. But I do have an update on my managing my anxiety, which is an ongoing theme for me. General anxiety is something that I have dealt with most of my life, and I am working on getting it out of my life because I don't like anxiety. I mean, I don't think anybody does. But something I talked about last time was focusing on addressing mental strength and confidence and meditation in large part as a way to address anxiety. And I have. I've been more consistent about addressing anxiety. And one thing that I have been doing a lot of is breath work. And I've talked about this a lot in the newsletter. I found a YouTube channel. It's called Breathe with Sandy. And there are loads and loads of videos that have breathwork sessions. And I don't watch the videos while I do this. I put in some earbuds and I lay on my back and close my eyes or sit up and close my eyes. But I love these sessions. They have been phenomenal. From the very first day I did one, which was on June 2nd, I have done one of these sessions almost every single day. Maybe there have been a few times where it's like 6 days out of the week, but there's also been times where I've done 2 in a day. I absolutely love these sessions. They really do it for me. And I'll tell you what I think it is about this particular work. I do not do well with just meditation. I've tried for years and years and years, and I tend to just start thinking about, like, when is this going to be over? And they just feel like a struggle. Meditation for me has always been a challenge, and I end up not sticking with it. I think that's part of the reason is I feel like it's something that I should be doing and not something that I want to do. So I do it sometimes, I'll get in a groove, and then it just kind of goes by the wayside. This is totally different, and I think part of the reason is that there's just enough to keep my brain and body engaged, but also doing so little that I can actually sink totally into a state of letting go, a kind of doing nothing. So yeah, this great combination of my mind isn't swirling to look for something to do, but also not so occupied that I can't just relax. Like you really are just breathing. You're listening to a few prompts, and there's always a soundtrack to it, which these are original soundtracks, and they're really nice to listen to. And yeah, this just really does it for me. I know at this point, like I said, I've been doing these since the beginning of June. Now it's the end of August, so it's been a few months. And sometimes I do the 12-minute option. Often I do a 20 to 25-minute option. Like there's so many sessions to choose from. I have done a few of the longer sessions. They are about an hour. And some of these, quite frankly, have just been life-changing. Like I feel like I'm letting go of some stuck emotions and just stuff that needs to move through my body. I've cried. I've laughed. I mean, they can be very intense. Sometimes they're just calming. Like they really do run the gamut. And I have found by and large that whatever the intent is of the session, and it will say with the video, whatever the intent is, like he kind of delivers on what he says it's supposed to be. If it's just a nice way to start your morning and it's a little 12-minute do these breathing protocols, that's kind of what happens. Like it just sort of puts me in a grounded, nice frame of mind. And I use these throughout the day sometimes as a reset. Sometimes I do them at night. Sometimes I do them in the morning. I just do them when it suits and choose them based on how much time I have, the experience I'm in the mood for or open to or need in the moment. And one of the things for me that's really nice is I actually look forward to doing these, especially when I'm starting to feel anxiety coming on or just that sort of like overwrought, feeling tension, feeling a bit overwhelmed with what I have to do, or just kind of getting toward the end of the day and just feeling like I've had enough. I just take a breath and I'm like, you know what? I can just go do one of these sessions. And I always, every single time, I feel so much better when I'm done. And it's just really nice. So yeah, I have found my thing that is really making a difference in my life. And it's filling that space that I was trying to fill with meditation. And yeah, I just love it. I think this breath work is phenomenal. And I do feel it in my training and my racing. I feel like I am breathing differently. I feel like I get much fuller breaths. And part of this is just I'm exercising my diaphragm and my rib cage. And I feel like things are stretching out a bit. And I'm just not holding as much tension in sort of my mid back and my shoulders. I just cannot say enough good things about it. And it's certainly not for everybody. I don't even think this would have been for me 5 years ago. I don't know that it would have had the impact that it has today, but I've done a lot of other sort of work in my life. I've explored a lot of different ways of grounding myself and finding calm and dealing with my mental struggles. And I feel like I've gotten to a point where I'm ready to do this work and have it work for me. And again, I just don't think maybe I wouldn't have been in this place 5 years ago. Maybe I would have sat down and breathed and been like, oh gosh, when can I move on to the next thing? Who knows? But I just say that like I can't say that this is for everyone, but it works for me. And I just absolutely love it. And so, yeah, so that's the anxiety front. Still a work in progress, but ever improving. And I'll take it. And that's going to be a wrap. That is my update for now. I'm healthy. I have a new coach. I'm excited to see what comes next. I'm looking forward to some low pressure, fun races coming up and then starting the indoor season. And I'm super thankful that I am healthy. I'm injury free. I'm moving well. I've found these breathing protocols, and I also have some traveling to look forward to. I'm headed to Ireland for a couple weeks. I'm going to be headed out to California and to Canada after that. And so, yeah, there's a lot of good stuff on the calendar. And I will give you an update about all of that in another few months down the road here. And that is going to do it for me for this episode. Thanks so much for being here. I always appreciate you coming and listening to these episodes. I am Cherie Louise Turner, and I am the host and producer of Women's Running Stories. And until next Tuesday, I do wish you healthy, joyful, grounded strides forward. Women's Running. Women's Running Stories.